What's up, family? Welcome to Ask to My Ots.
But we challenge you to stop playing and start pushing.
This right here is my divine wife, Iana.
And this right here, this is my sweet husband, Ayize. All right, y'all, welcome to Ask the Ma'ats. For those of you that don't know, we answer questions, we give advice, we provide insight based on our own relationship, based on our professional experience and expertise. And so we're going to get right to it and answer this question. Now, this is a long question, and Lord have mercy. Oh, my.
It's a good question, though, but it's a long question.
Wow. Okay, let's get to it. First, I want to say that I love reading your blog. I love watching you guys together. Your chemistry is real. I also love your
You don't
sense
got to
of
read all
humor.
that, baby. Just get to the question.
That's not the question?
The question starts right here.
Okay. So anyway, she says, my marriage is not thriving. We have so many issues from trust, lust, lying, infidelity, sexual immorality, just stuff. My husband wanted a threesome because he found out my best friend was bisexual and that we kissed. That's a long story, but that's not the life I want for myself or my marriage. His heart has hardened toward me. We are just existing more like roommates, and my heart hurts so bad. All right, so here I'm skipping down a little bit. She says, this will be very difficult for me to share, so please bear with me. No one knows what I'm about to share, at least not in full detail besides my best friend. I have struggled with same-sex attraction for a while. Actually, not really attraction. It's been more of a sexual thing for me. It's not like I want to be in a relationship with a woman. I would get more aroused from watching porn of two women than actually wanting to be engaged in the act. She says, my first sexual experience was with a girl. I was spending the night with a friend at about 10 years old, and she started touching me during the middle of the night. I thought I was dreaming. I knew it felt good until I woke up and realized it was happening for real. I was too ashamed to say anything and too scared to actually let her know I knew what was going on. So I pretended to still be asleep while she touched me, and nothing was ever said. This ordeal basically opened a Pandora's box. The second encounter, which was about a year later, was basically two childhood friends playing house. Nothing major, right? Harmless, so I thought. We touched each other, kissed each other, playing mommy and daddy, but of course too young to really understand that the seed had been planted. She says, I never wanted to be in a relationship with a woman, but I often wondered what it would be like sexually. I was introduced to porn at a young age due to snooping. Another seed was planted. I was very aroused by watching, and even more so with the women. I could not wrap my head around it. I was very promiscuous. I've always been attracted to men, and I've always had relationships with only men, but the curiosity never left. Fast forward. I'm married, 15 years with two teenagers. My relationship has been rocky the majority of our relationship. I've never really felt loved by my husband. I'm lonely the majority of the time. I'm in a vulnerable state and I thrive for his attention. My husband has in the past accused me of being gay or bisexual. Don't really remember what brought this on at the time, but I was offended. My husband didn't know anything about my past at the time. He has never been easy to talk to and he has controlling and manipulative ways. So I was basically scared. I have never felt safe with sharing my heart and deep emotional pain due to judgment and based on how he has reacted in the past. Our relationship started off very fast. We met, and after 6 months, we were moved in with each other, and after 1 year, I was pregnant with our first child. We got married while I was 8 months pregnant. We spent the first year together every day. We were in love or infatuated. I had just come out of a long relationship and was not looking to be in another one. I had no real healing, and I have never been in the position of getting to know myself. As long as I can remember, I have been in a relationship with somebody. My husband is very different from most men I have dated. I have, for the most part, always been put on a pedestal. I've been cherished. The men always showed affection and love toward me. The relationship I had prior to my husband was the one that left me with low self-esteem. Confused and lonely. He cheated on me. Never thought something like that could happen to me. So I went into this marriage blind and broken. Prior to meeting my husband, I wrote a list of things I wanted in a mate. Here is some of what I asked for. To not always want sex. This guy I was seeing prior, that's all we did. Someone that stood on his own. somebody that I wouldn't be able to push around, someone that could think for himself. These are just some examples. And let me just tell you, God has a sense of humor. If only I can renounce some of those things I said. God gave me exactly what I asked for. The sad thing is there is no real intimacy now. He is not affectionate. He doesn't speak my love language at all. He stands on his own for sure. He seems very controlling and manipulative at times. We rarely have sex, which is the only way I receive any type of affection or intimacy from him. This has been very hard for me, and this is why our relationship has experienced most of its turmoil. Moving on. I started working for a company and I made quick friends. It was about 7 of us. 3 of them happened to be gay. Not a big issue. I even told my husband that one girl I had become really good friends with was gay. Didn't think it was a real issue at the time, but my husband started with his thoughts in his head from that moment on. Anyway, this young lady I was friends with started to like me. Besides just being curious, there was never any attraction on my end. However, I did find it flattering. This was my first time actually being around gay people. Because of the way my husband is, and because of some of the things we were going through, and I don't know where it started for me exactly, but it made it very difficult to be honest with him about things. I became a big liar early on in our marriage. About everything, big or small. Big mistake. This has never been a problem in any relationship I've ever had. He used to have problems with everything. He hated that I knew a lot of people. He hated that I had so many friends. I would almost dread going out in fear of running into someone I knew. I allowed him to manipulate me. I allowed him to get inside my head. This fear would cause me to not want to bring friends around, go out, or basically do anything. I felt myself doing a lot of things in secret and for no reason at all, simply based on feelings. Gee, there is so much to my story.
Wow.
That's just part 1.
Yeah, that's part one.
This is quite a letter.
Yeah, but there were several things that stood out to me, and just in that first part. The first thing is that I want to lift up I guess I could say the normalcy of your childhood experience, in the sense that oftentimes when you're a child, or for a lot of people, experimentation occurs with children just getting in tune with or beginning to feel some sense of, or trying to figure out their sexual identity. Exploration occurs. And so it's not uncommon for people of the same gender to, engage in house games and, touchy-feely. And again, you're just trying to establish.
They're really learning about their own body parts.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And it's a normal developmental stage in terms of exploration. So I do agree. I think that's important for you to know, because it sounds like she had some shame attached to that.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. So on one hand, we say that there's some normalcy there. But on the other hand, you said that you were 10. She said she was 10, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know how old the other person was. So
True.
I think we need to take that back.
Yeah.
Because we don't really know, what that was. And let me be very clear, because we are trying to normalize it to some degree, in terms of children exploring, it doesn't mean that that's just okay for kids to do and just be allowed to be able to do that. That's why when your children start to become of an age where they really start to understand their body parts and that kind of thing, if it gets quiet in the house, any parents out there, you're like,
good
where
touch,
they
bad
at?
touch.
Right, where are they at, what they're doing, good touch, bad touch, and you teach your children what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. So normalizing the developmental stage is what we're doing. But not normalizing necessarily your experience, particularly because we don't even know the age of the other person.
Another thing that stands out to me too, or that I would have questions for you about, is really how you were raised. And the reason why I bring that up is because when you think about attachment theory, the relationships that we have later on in life are often representative of what we experienced as a child. And so it seems like a lot of your experiences led you to turn towards or be curious or interested in the same gender. So I'm just curious to know, what some of your formative relationships were like when you were a child, in terms of like, your parents, your mom, your father, and how much of an impact that had on you. If there was any abuse, if there was any emotional or physical neglect that might have led you to turn outwards versus getting reassurance and feeling some sense of stability in your home from your guardians. And so that's one thing that stood out to me as well. In addition to that, what I'll say is that later on in the first part, you said that God had some type of joke on you, or the joke's on you because God gave you exactly what it is that you were
Oh,
asking for.
can you wait before you go there?
Okay.
I just wanted to add on to the piece about this same sex attraction, and then you kind of told the story about when you were young and the touching and that kind of thing. So on one hand, my husband said, what were some of those formative experiences that you had early on, and how did that impact your curiosity, your exposure, and that kind of thing. So that's something that's important to know. But also, I wonder, this has just popped in my head, might you be gay?
Mm-hmm.
Might you be? Again, what I would ask is, what was your upbringing? Is that seen as immoral,
Mm-hmm.
a sin, wrong? I think at some point in the letter, I think she did use the word immorality.
Yeah, sexual immorality.
So that's a very personal thing,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many people who believe that that's a sin, and so that filters every experience you have, and even your own understanding of yourself and in the situation. So I have to be real with you. We've had this discussion, and we kind of sit in the same place, but at slightly different angles.
Mm-hmm.
And my angle is that um, when it comes to homosexuality and being gay or lesbian or what have you, I do believe that people are born gay. I do believe that people have a right to love who they want to love. And I do believe that people have the right to be who they are. And that the judgment and the drama and the trauma that comes from people not being allowed to do that, or submitting to fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, and fear of just straight up going to hell based on a theology that comes from oftentimes religious circles that basically make you feel like you will go to hell. I don't think it's right, and it's not in alignment with my beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say that may not be your belief. I do believe that also there are folks who, for any number of reasons, some of the ones that you talked about, because of sexual abuse, because of exposure to things when they're young, also
Mm-hmm.
choose
Yeah.
it as a lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
for any number of reasons, because of things that have happened early on. But I'm saying that because might you be? And if you are, what does that mean for you?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
is that something that you need to struggle with and wrestle with,
Yeah.
so that you can really walk in clarity? I don't know, but that's the work that you might need to do for yourself.
Mm-hmm. It seems like too what you're talking about is really self-acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
because later on in the letter you said that you never really got a chance to really be by yourself or experience yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you don't have that opportunity to experience yourself and get to know yourself, then how can you really accept yourself?
Yeah.
So I think that it's very important that you take that time to get to know who you are, and as we continue through the letter, you'll see other instances where it probably would have been more appropriate for you to just take a time out and say, who am I? What's
Mm-hmm.
best for me? And what direction do I need to be going in?
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned a moment ago, you mentioned that, God had the joke on you or whatever. And so what I'll say is that,
God has a sense of humor.
yeah, sense of humor. We all experience challenges, and a part of being in a relationship is, I believe, to grow you up.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I, we often say that marriage is for grown folks. And my wife, to some degree, she's held up a mirror to me and reflected back some of my inadequacies. And I, too, have done the same. But we've also
Mm-hmm.
reflected each other's strengths as well. So when you say that God has a sense of humor, you're in this to grow. So whatever you're experiencing, whether it be the good or the bad, it's an opportunity for you to grow. So again, this is all about self-acceptance and accepting your circumstances to a degree where you realize that this is an opportunity for me to really go to the next level.
Mm-hmm. And also, this is the piece that comes up for me. You attract what you are. I want you to sit with that between now and the next video that we do, where we read your letter some more. But you attract what you are. So if you've attracted a man into your life, and we have not read the entire letter yet, so there may be some things you tell us later on that we have to get into even more. But if you attract, well, there will be. But if you attract a man into your life that you say is manipulative, controlling, you're telling lies, big liar, and you didn't have to do that before, and that kind of thing, he didn't just come into your life and then created this new dynamic within you. You reflected and sent out an energy and a vibration that only spoke to him or someone like him. You see, so when he comes to you, giving you that, it's because you attracted that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in you. And so, what I'm trying to speak to you about is the fact that there are some broken spaces within you, that you would be manipulated in such a way, that you would be controlled in such a way, that you would be ripe for that kind of a dynamic in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't mean that the ownership is totally on you and in your lap, but what it does mean is that you create your reality. It just ain't no way around it. You participate in your reality. You got to have a partner when you're in a relationship, but guess what? The person who shows up is the person that you've attracted based
Mm-hmm.
on your unique energy that you send out. So, you got to pay attention to that piece.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of him being manipulative, that kind of thing, all that stuff, we're going to go into that a little bit further about men and women, but I think specifically men, because that's what we're talking about in this letter, in the next video. And I think it's important for us to talk a little bit about some signs, some red flags
Mm-hmm.
that folks need to look for, so that you don't find yourself with the wrong person.
Like moving in after 6 months.
How about that? How about that? There's some steps you could take,
Yeah.
and not take, to be a little bit better off, as you move along your life's journey. So we thank you for sharing this with us. This is a long one. That's why we're breaking it down, but we know it's important. We appreciate you sharing your sacred story with us. Come on back, because there is so much to your story, and we appreciate that you seem to be willing to stop playing and start pushing.